Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. We're refuting the rantings of the various reactionary forces against high-speed rail. One clearinghouse for this is the Reason Foundation, Wendell Cox and Joseph Vranich. Now, if you look in my Surviving the Cataclysm, Vranich in those days, 10 years ago, he was essentially in favor of building high-speed rail, but now they're saying, oh, look, the cost of the San Francisco to Los Angeles train has gone up, and they've even got a researcher from Denmark, Bent Flibjerg. This is called Mega Projects and Risk. 258 major transportation projects in Europe and North America over 80 years. Guess what he finds? That they were cost overruns. Cost overruns. Heavens, horrors, cost overruns. Yeah, there were cost overruns on everything. There were cost overruns on derivative speculation. 50 to 1, 100 to 1, 300 to 1, and you have nothing to show when you're done. The point is, the work of civilization has got to get done. Infrastructural improvements, capital goods of this type have got to be built. Permanent increases in the productive power of labor have got to be provided through these capital goods. Notice these reactionaries regard money as primary. Money. Their alienation is extreme. They have gone beyond commodity fetishism. They are now in the area of money fetishism and market fetishism. They think that little pieces of paper with colored print on them, that's the basis, the be-all and end-all of everything. They're fascinated with it. They want to have different kinds, right? They don't like fiat money. Surprise, boys, all money is fiat money. All money reflects a political decision of some human group to establish it as money. Once you go beyond barter, you're in the realm of fiat money. There's no such thing as natural money. Diamonds, gold, silver, wampum, seashells, cows, all human collectivities come up with different answers to this. So, yes, fiat money. The question is, what's the productive power behind it? The value of money is not in the gold backing or lack thereof. It's what can you use the money to buy? What can you buy with it? Do you have a powerful national economy that responds to that money? So the maximum alienation, the maximum fetishism of money by these reactionaries, they say, oh, you can't build fast rail. You'll have cost overruns. Well, at that point, you're completely blocked, right? You had cost overruns anything. You can't fight Hitler. You'll have cost overruns, and on and on. And I would add again, we need codicils. We need appendices in these studies, right? The mega projects and risk from this Dane and from Wendell Cox and Vranich at the Reason Foundation. Learn Chinese. Learn Chinese so that you can successfully go through your interviews with the Chinese anthropologists who are going to be looking at you as ethnographic material. Because there is rivalry among nations. There is political economy. And if you choose stagnation, if you say, put the money in derivatives and you'll be better off, put your savings into the stock market and you'll make money, you will be ethnographic material. You'll be a specimen. Now, the other article we want to look at this week on Tarpley.net, de Gaulle as economic dirigist. I had meant to have this out for June 18th, which is when General Charles de Gaulle of France made his first call from London for an anti-Nazi resistance against Hitler's occupation of France. But we had it up for July 14th, so good enough, I hope. Bastille Day, the Bastille reference is complicated, but mainly it's the French National Day. So let's salute the oldest ally of the United States. Let's salute those names like Lafayette and de Grasse and Rochambeau. But the relevance of de Gaulle, he's right on many issues. For example, his speech in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, 1965, don't get involved in the Vietnam War. The best friendly advice, a true friend saying avoid a catastrophe for yourself. He wanted to keep the British out of the European community, which they subverted with monetarism and speculation. He wanted to make sure that there was no nuclear war fighting in Europe. It was not going to be limited war with him around. It was going to be total war, so better you don't go there. The future of Quebec, that it had to be free, at least autonomous. The reform of the international monetary system was unworkable, and so on and so on. All these main policy points. De Gaulle was right. The Anglo-American policy elite, with their fanaticism and their hysteria and their arrogance, were wrong. But in particular, let's look at France, right? Why does France have the best percentage of energy from nuclear power of any country in the world still today? Why do they have the best high-speed rail, despite what the Reason Foundation wants you to believe, the absolute basis for economic performance? How is it that they have that they had this aerospace industry, right? They had the Concorde. Unfortunately, it's not there anymore. The U.S. never got a supersonic transport, but the French had it. So that's de Gaulle, and this comes from Jean-Baptiste Colbert, finance minister of France, from 1665 to 1683. That's the father of modern dirigism. To be a dirigist, the leading dirigist in the United States, Alexander Hamilton. The United States is built on dirigism. Some would call it mercantilism. Some would call it protectionism. There are some other words for it. There's cameralism in Germany. There's the Neapolitan school of Serra and others in Italy. But dirigism. De Gaulle, Colbert, Hamilton, these are your dirigists. Henry Clay, Lincoln. The Republican Party from Lincoln through really into the 1950s. What's the main point? Strong, protective tariff. Lincoln is a high tariff man. The moral tariff of 1862, highest tariff. Confederates are gone. Time to have a protective tariff and build a huge industrial power. And, of course, it goes back. See, the reactionary mythology is that the Founding Fathers are all free market, laissez-faire fanatics. They're not. Leading Founding Father, Alexander Hamilton, Washington. George Washington supported Alexander Hamilton in the cabinet against the silly nostrums of the agrarian paradise of Jefferson. Jefferson was a terrible president. He set the United States up for a virtual catastrophe in the War of 1812. Anything Jefferson did good was against his own principles. For example, if you really believe that the only powers of the federal government are the powers that are enumerated for it, what do you do when it's time for the Louisiana Purchase? Do you want to have the Louisiana Purchase, yes or no? Somebody want to go back on it? This was the problem for Jefferson. He had done this ranting saying, there are no implied powers, there are no inherent powers. The only powers you have are the enumerated powers, and the rest of them go to the states and the people. What happens when you have the chance to buy the Louisiana Purchase? Do you do it or do you not? I guess the one saving grace of Jefferson was that he was smart enough not to believe his own stupid propaganda on what the Constitution really said, because he went ahead and did it. How about the embargo, the oh grab me, to cut off all commercial exchange with Europe, with anybody? Jefferson's embargo, an absolute disaster. So, not a man for all seasons. Anyway, dirigism is Hamilton and de Gaulle, and that is the success story of France. Now, naturally, we have to say this with a note of sadness, because although we had July 14th this week, and we salute the contributions of France to civilization, we now have Sarkozy. Now, there's a wonderful example, a summer scandal against Sarkozy, and that is the corrupt party financing scandal that involves Madame Liliane Bettencourt, the head of L'Oréal Cosmetics. L'Oréal. It's funny, L'Oréal has a history of sponsoring bad French politicians. François Mitterrand, the president back in the 80s, had been the editor of Votre Beauté, the cosmetics magazine of L'Oréal. So it looks like Sarko is also partly owned by L'Oréal. So maybe the French will correct this terrible situation that has put a scion of the CIA Wisner household into the Élysée Palace. But in the meantime, take a look at that article and get the lowdown on de Gaulle as a dirigist. That's the successful school. That's the one that works. It's the one that gives you national pride, without which you cannot exist. And we'll be back next week on World Crisis Radio.